Hey, you guys are listening to the Dope Science Show Hit the Streets segment. This is show 3 of Hit the Streets. And on this show, I go back to So Easy Sundays out there at Comfort LA in downtown LA, where people get together every second Sunday to celebrate life, be creative, and have good conversations, eat and listen to trap music. It is great. I highly recommend you guys hit it up if you ever come out this way. This show was inspired by a lot of things. We recently had the Charlottesville event, and that's just one of a ongoing constant series of hate events that has been occurring in the U.S. And I wanted to talk about it, but I wanted to talk about it in a way that was solution-oriented and inspired new ideas. So the article that inspired this show, I'm just going to read it to you. The title is Cooperation, Not Struggle for Survival Drives Evolution. Cooperation, not struggle for survival, drives evolution. Empirical experiment confirms new hypothesis on evolution of life. This article was released on May 12, 2016. The source is the National Research Tomsk State University. Summary: using a new conceptual evolutionary model, investigators have reviewed the debated mechanism of speciation, suggesting that competition and a struggle for the existence are not the main drivers of evolution. This research points out the importance of avoidance of competition, biological history, endogenesymbiosis, and three-dimensionality as the main forces that structure ecosystems and allow the evolution of biological diversity. I found this article on ScienceDaily.com because it is my favorite website. And when you guys listen to the show, I think you'll get an idea of what this is all about, which is basically they argue that cooperation is what really drives evolution, not competition. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Use hashtag the dope sci convo. So that's the dope and then sci. SCI Convo, CONVO. Thank you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Peace. Hey, you guys, this is the Dope Science Show on the streets. This is Steph, aka Science Stuff with Steph. I'm here at, where are we at?
We're here in LA, Steph. On planet Earth.
Oh, yeah, at So Easy Sundays. That's where we're at. We're at So Easy Sundays, which is a dope event where we have culture, music. You know, we're just a bunch of happy people enjoying our Sunday. And we're at Comfort LA with the best food, chicken and waffles. They don't pay me for this. I don't get free food. I'm a big fan, so here we are. And the question of the day was inspired by life, man. Life is good and it's bad, and most recently we just have a lot of turmoil in the country with narrative of competition, separatism, racism, and just us over others, this otherness. And it made me think about, is this the way it has to be? And so I want to know, what do you think about competition? Do you think competition is a natural part of human society? As far as how does that relate to evolution? So I'm sorry guys, I ramble, but you guys already know this. My question is, do you think it is natural for humans to be competitive because it is part of evolution?
Oh, God. That's the question of the century. Should we be competitive against each other for resources? Should we kill each other for resources, or do we live in peace and harmony with each other? Before the Spaniards came and conquered my people and your people on both the southern continents of the hemisphere, there was a past civilization of humans, and this past civilization of humans coexisted with the earth. And somewhere along the evolution line, humanity split. It got separated by color, unfortunately. They forgot that we all bleed red. So when that happened, industrialization took place, and you got this weird split of humanity where you got your Egyptian and your Aztec and your Mayan and all those cultures that existed before them, where they had no problem and something wiped them out. And what was it? It was the New World that wiped them out. And then the New World took over, and this is where we're at today. Everything, we're going through like the 7th extinction, and this is probably the last for the humans. So all you got to do is just remember to try to live in peace and that we all bleed red.
That is so beautiful that you think that way, that, you can see our history as a humanity and that we're all one. And a lot of people, you'll hear people say that we have to compete, that it's a natural part of humanity, that, we evolved because we're competitive, and the survival of the fittest is why we are here where we are today. So it's inevitable. That's the argument, that we have to compete because that's our natural way. And my question is, are there other theories of evolution? What if we were evolving through cooperation, And there are alternative evolutionary theories, and one of them is symbiosis. I'll edit the correct pronunciation. And it argues that by cooperating and not competing, we developed symbiotic relationships with other species, and that's how we evolved, by sharing genes. And then, in fact, the people or the species that cooperate with other species and live with their environment, they develop a symbiotic relationship, and that is how we actually evolved. And that's why we have biodiversity, because if we were competitive and it was the survival of the fittest, then you would see less biodiversity. It would be, a monopoly, like the strongest only win, versus so many different types of beings. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is, we've got to be against the hate that we have going on in our world, because it's not about competition. It's not about survival of the fittest. It's, if we really want to evolve as a species, then we need to work together and cooperate, and not just with us, but with other beings. We can't poison the environment if we want to survive.
Yeah, on it.
Yeah, so that's what inspired my questions today is, what do you think evolution is, and have you thought of a different way of evolving? Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You can find me at Fuck Yeah, FUCCKYEA on Instagram. Fuck Yeah, double C.
Awesome. Peace. Hey, you guys, I have a lady. I always celebrate. Yes, I found a lady. So the question of the day, you guys, do you think evolution is naturally competitive, or can it be cooperative?
Hi, my name's Corey, and I think it's naturally competitive, just because you can't really control nature, like it does its own thing. You can't change anything in the sense of when it's growing, so
I can see that. I can see it being naturally competitive because there's the argument that we have to have the survival of the fittest, right? Yeah. And my question is, there's another theory of evolution where they argue that actually cooperating with each other and other species is how we build genetic diversity, which makes us more likely to be able to adapt and survive with our environment. And if we were to think that way, how do you think the world would be different? Because instead of thinking we have to compete, we actually are cooperating.
I think a lot of people wouldn't eat meat. Um, they would understand a different. I mean, people fear what they don't understand, so it's kind of like if they did, things would be like the earth wouldn't, like, it's diminishing, just because we're not taking care of it. So if we took care of each other and understood that nature would take its course in a different way. But in this day and age, it's not like that, and it's too bad it's not.
I know, it's too bad. And maybe with more conversations where we question what we consider natural, maybe we can try something different. Instead of building a whole way of life where it's like me against that person, and, then we can actually change.
Maybe.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. You rock, Corey. Bye.
Thank you for having. No. I guess my Instagram is Corey Lindsay. It's KORI_LINZIE. If anybody wants to follow me, I don't know.
Hey, you guys! I have another guest, and he's so awesome. He's got me going. I was like, oh, I gotta turn on the recorder before I ask all my questions. I will let him introduce himself. His name is Tayshawn.
What's up, guys? What's up? My name's Tayshawn. I'm freshly out here from New York City. Opened up a boxing gym, fitness boxing gym at 1234 North La Brea, Aerospace, LA. Please come by and check us out. You can find us on Instagram at Aerospace, AEROSPACENYC. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Euroshawn, EUROSHON.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time. So the question of the day is, do you think it is natural for humans to be competitive, that it is a natural state of evolution? What are your thoughts on evolution?
Competition, I think, is that just like I think that's something that's ingrained in all of us, just maybe for survival and for resources, and may take on different forms. As far as evolution is concerned, I think that maybe has to do with us becoming our best self so we can survive and compete for those resources to stay around.
That's a good question. Answer. I think that is what most people think. I mean, that is the mainstream understanding, I think, of the evolutionary theory. When people think of Darwinism, they think of survival of the fittest, adaptation, and, if you don't compete, you're phased out, you'll be extinct. But I am starting to wonder, and I'm sure other people have, and I want to have more conversations about an alternative theory of evolution, where it's cooperation. It's not competition. And the theory goes where instead of competing, we actually develop symbiotic relationships with our similar species, our environment, and even within our own species, and that we start sharing genes because of it. And that is why we've evolved from being apes to humans, because we were cooperating and we ended up developing these relationships where we exchange genes. And that is the reason why we have biodiversity. And so what do you think would happen to humanity if, instead of thinking evolution is automatically competition, where we actually changed our thoughts to think, in order to adapt and change and evolve, that we actually have to work together so that we can gain together?
I think that, unfortunately, I think we only grow from anguish, and that there would have to be something that spurs that, I guess, that solidarity for all of us to work together. There would have to be one goal, one unifying goal for everybody. Also, everyone would have to understand that I guess that there's enough resources for everyone to share, because I think that's what starts the whole competition thing. There's not enough, and I have to be number one. So if there's enough for everybody, everybody has to understand that. So for that to happen, I don't know what would be the catalyst for that, but it'd be interesting to see, I guess.
Yeah, and we don't have any of these answers, but questions are how we get closer to finding the answer. when you say resources and having enough, it brings up thoughts of scarcity, and there is the belief that we actually have more than enough resources, that scarcity is a false condition, that people hoard things in order to create scarcity. So we actually have enough, and I don't know the answers for how people would be more generous, but I do think if we were to change our way of thinking, it would take away the narrative that racists and other people who compete and kill for resources, that there is enough, and that you're not evolving your white race or your religion, or you're not growing your community by competing. You're actually, you're leading yourself to extinction.
There's something that just came to mind, especially since that conversation that we had about weapons. There's an engineer that I'm slightly familiar with. His name's Jack Fresco, and and he talks about maybe switching from a resource, from a currency-based economy to a resource-based economy, where we arrive at decisions that are best for all of us. And I love the idea. When I heard it, I just wasn't sure, how do you actually implement something like that?
And that is called the Venus Project. I've heard it a few times, and I've looked into it, but that's exactly right. I'm glad you brought that up. But yes, it's just a different way of thinking, that we're sharing resources and that we're evolving as a species by cooperating with other humans and even other animals. It's like asinine for us to kill everything around us, and people.
Cycle when you're like destroying the cycle.
Well, thank you so much, Tayshawn. I appreciate your time, and hopefully I'll see you again at So Easy Sundays. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey.
Hey.
This is Space Monk. You guys remember? That was so awesome. I forgot what episode you're on, but this is
something. It was in December.
I don't know when we released it either, but this is the first time we've met in person, so thank you for coming out.
Sure. Glad to be here. Comfort LA.
Yeah. So Easy Sundays. So the question of the day is competition an inevitable part of evolution? Do we have to compete in order to evolve? Or is there an alternative option, such as cooperation, in order to evolve?
That's an interesting question. Okay, I'll hold it. Okay. So what does it mean to compete? It's when one person that's isolated themselves from other persons and said that this is mine, and they have to exert effort as a means of survival so that others don't take it. So that's what it means to compete, in my imagining. And oftentimes when you say that you have something, no one else can have it, that doesn't necessarily. So I think naturally I feel like competing in general doesn't super make sense. Because if you look at it in a capitalism sense, it doesn't super make sense to have all these Starbuckses or all these coffee beans when thinking of like the use of natural resources, if that's going to be like our metric of looking at it. So competition feels like an inefficient way to deal with natural resources that we have when we have, 50 different lumber companies. I'm making this up as I go, but multiple lumber companies that might be competing on price and market when they're all taking trees. Just trees that come from the earth. It's all trees, and they all come from the same place. So my instinct would say that cooperation would be key, because all of life is one movement, whether it be like the bacterial cells inside your body that are doing their own thing that we'll never be privy to unless we actually look, that affects our life in ways that we'll never imagine. Little bacteria in your stomach and the ecosystem that lives in your body. Or, the life of another human, the life of anything. So it's all connected. So if you think flowers don't compete with each other and they grow. But unless there's resources, then it needs to be that way. But What needs to be will be, and when you compete with others, it's principally is because you're afraid. And if you're afraid, you're thinking of yourself. And if you're thinking of yourself, that means you think of yourself as much bigger than you actually are, because it's all interconnected, and you're just a piece. If a cog inside of a watch over-glorified itself, it'll be very disappointed.
Good answer. From your answer, I gather that you're saying that if we were competing, you're more isolated, you're more by yourself, and you actually have less resources than if you were to cooperate and work with someone else or something else, because even if you are competing, you're still never separate because you're inevitably part of a greater organism. Very, very interesting. Well, thank you so much. Did you want to promote anything or say what's up?
You can find me on the internet. Follow me on the internet as Space Monk Ultra. Download my music and give me money for it. Please. I'm very hungry.
Hungry and smart. All right. Talk to you soon. Thanks. All right, you guys. You know the question of the day is competition natural as far as being a part of evolution, or could there be another type of evolution such as cooperation? And let's see what you think.
Hi, guys. My name is Rebecca Lynn. Follow me on Instagram, x_dalliance. The question is about evolution and competition. So I feel like competition is definitely a big part of evolution, but so is, what was the other word you used?
Cooperation, like working together.
Most definitely. I believe both of them work on hand in hand on making evolution happen. More so like males, they need to fight for what they want, like whether it be food, whether it be a woman, whether it be anything, they need to show that they want it more in order to get it. And then cooperation more so because you do have to like let go sometimes and understand that that fight is not your fight. You have something else for you, and you have to be willing to let something go in order to get the thing that's actually for you.
So you're saying you think that you do have to compete in order to maybe be motivated to go after things, maybe?
Well, in order for life to move, in order for things to happen, like, for example, I'm going to use this in a broad spectrum because I know everyone dates. For instance, like if a guy was trying to approach me and then another guy tried to approach me, it is a competition at that point. Like, what can you do for me that this guy can't? Or what do you have? Or how can we benefit each other and make each other work? And you kind of have to compete for that. Show the person that you're more worth it. And that works vice versa, male or female. And then in the aspect of like animals and food, like you have to go chase for your prey. So if someone else gets it before you, it is a competition at that point. So if someone else gets the food before you, you lost. Like that's a sort of competition.
That is true. And I wonder, these things exist, but I do think that there are other ways. Like for instance, when you think of hunting, a pack of wolves, they hunt together because one wolf by itself might not be able to catch its prey, but working together, it has a much higher chance of getting a meal. So I think that's an example of cooperation, allowing a species to survive. And what inspired this question was just what we see in our daily lives with this otherness. You know, they're white, I'm black, racism, and all the oppressing of another group, or even when we abuse animals in our environment. And a lot of times people, when you get down to the root of why they think it's okay to do that, they usually say it's a natural part of evolution, that if it's not me, then it's them. They're going to be on top, And
I think there's a very big balance there. Like, you need to have cooperation, and you need to it needs to go hand in hand. You need to work for what you get. And, like, it's like getting a degree. Like, nowadays, like, it's a competition who can have the most degrees to get this job, or who can have the most experience to get this job. It literally, it's like what society made. I don't know if it started off that way, but I'm saying that that's the way the society has come. So we all have to play our parts, and balance is the best way to do that. If you don't have balance, then basically you could be looked at as a Trump, or you could be looked at as someone greater or higher or whatever. So there's a lot of it's situational basically at that point.
Yeah, so there's not only one way of doing things. Like, being more balanced may be the answer we're looking for.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.